like either it could be like engineering or the medical stream. I'm not aware how many of you guys are tried for the medical or other things and could not get in. So initially with my plus 12, I was very much amazed by the Mendelian genetics. But however, I was being not having proper guidance made me to move into the dental fraternity. And however, I'm somehow good at clinics, but later on, I felt like maybe I wanted to continue my urge on research and therefore started first testing myself as a guest researcher at CCMB. CCMB is one of the premier institutes in the entire Asia. And this led me as a footstep because in dentistry, we don't even know what a pipette is. I guess many of you people might have experienced that. In order to get adjusted, it took me a while. And later on, I thought like, rather than directly pursuing a PhD, why don't I pursue a master's? And from that journey onwards, I was like very much eager into learning techniques because that's the main thing I lack. And usually in masters, I like they do like just a thesis rotation and then do their master's thesis. But however, because I lack the experience, I have done like 3 rotations, which is of a great extent because the only thing that led me move forward is the urge for learning research. And later on, I pursued my PhD and currently like last year end, I defended and got my degree. And right now I'm pursuing my postdoctoral fellowship. My ultimate goal is to get back to the Indian academic research community and serve many more PhD students. So before I move into, so I wanted to give out like US is, they call it as a land of opportunities. Simultaneously, there is a lot of diversity in US. Like for example, I did my dentistry, but during my master's or PhD, I have never touched oral biology because that's what I am skilled with. So therefore, I thought like, why don't I move into a different scenario? For that reason, I took stem cell concentration because that's very fascinating at that point. But later got to know that stem cells are mainly an application of basic science. So for people like me who have been deviated from a clinical field, first need to understand the basic science. Therefore, I streamline myself more into the basic science where I can always apply my things into stem cells later in my life. And right now, one of the most hot topic is bioinformatics. And I see many of the students at Shoolini are pursuing bioinformatics. That's pretty welcoming thing right now. However, big data is pretty interesting and important, but however, the traditional science is also important. So always having a multidisciplinary approach of research is the best. For example, uh, I'm not a bioinformatist. So I wanted to work on like my heart samples. I want to send it and compare it with my knockout samples where I'm knocking down a gene and seeing a disease progression in that. So in order to see what are the mechanisms that are, I have to send it for RNA-seq or some kind of omics research related questionnaire. And it's mainly diverted to a company. They give me a set of genes, they analyze the data and give it to me. But however, they are not familiar with what I want and I'm not completely aware. So maybe me learning little bit of the informatics would make it even more easier. So something like this. So I'm just giving you an idea because you guys are in pretty early stage and it's very important in order to streamline which kind of field you want to choose and why you are choosing and how you want to use this for as a building block for your career step. So the good thing is, for example, even a biotechnology student can do computer science in US. The only thing is you might need to have to move on to like prerequisites which are required for the engineering background people. And so these are some of the programs that I have listed, but however, there are even more. As I mentioned earlier, it is very diverse and people here are open to welcome into multiple fields. So coming to the course curriculum, so every university has different kinds of systems and everything is calculated based on credit hours. I'm not sure how the biotech field in India is doing, because I came from a different background. I'm not completely aware about this semester system or the credit system. So here the courses run only within a semester, and they'll have like 3 to 4 exams, like midterm, or initially first month an exam, then second month an exam or a midterm, and the final. At times it can be cumulative, at times it is like just for that particular portion. At times you will also have some kind of quizzes. So it is like a combination of things. And based on the credits, usually each credit is a $1,500 per credit or something around that. And that's how the tuition fees is being calculated. And usually it varies from university to university. Like if you have in US, they consider it as tiers: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So based on if it is like an Ivy League university, something like Harvard or Stanford, or those high brand names, it is very expensive. Coming to a medium school like Rutgers is a medium school where I work in, it is not too expensive, but definitely it's expensive because it's in New Jersey, New York region. The cost of living also does have an impact. And so the tuition doesn't include any of the other things. And for any master's program, it is very important how you can reduce the tuition by either getting some kind of fellowships or scholarships. So usually in US, there is a criteria called graduate assistantship, research assistantship, and teaching assistantship. Graduate assistantship is something like where, for example, you have dining related or dorms. Like for example, you have hostel, there should be some kind of a person who has to get in or get out, like for people who have to get access in, so they check for the ID, something like that, the admin kind of work. Or even in the graduate school, there are some students who help with the minimal queries. These are something related to the administrative work. Or even in the libraries, where they help with the books or with the printouts or some of the other things. And coming to research assistant, it's more like working in a lab as a research assistant, where you will be paid for our, like usually being an international student, we can work only 20 hours a week, because we have to even focus on the coursework. So we are not allowed to work more than 20 hours. And during summer, because it's like a scheduled holiday period, you can work even until 40 hours. And this doesn't count as any kind of a work authorization, because it is everything is within the university. And the last one is teaching assistantship. Teaching assistantship is something like tutoring for a course. For example, you got A grade in one particular course, and you can then approach to your course director or the professor who is taking the course, and then ask them if I can TA for the course. So some of the universities do pay for it. Some of them it's voluntary thing. For example, in Rutgers, there are 3 campuses. And in my campus, because it's purely medical and dental associated campus, we don't even have undergrad. Therefore, teaching assistantship or research assistantship, all these jobs are on a very lower end, and teaching assistantship is usually not paid. So these are the things which we might have to look into. And if you get something like this offer, usually you will have a remission on the tuition even. So these are the things you need to look into when you're applying for schools, because spending too much for a master's is a wrong move, which I was not being entitled when I joined. So I came up with a wrong thing. So how to know which universities or which campus, like campuses in that particular university has these on campus kind of jobs? So why I came up with this particular question is because I made a mistake when I'm choosing my master's. So I had a collaboration with Rutgers Dental School. That's the reason why most of my career is being stuck with Rutgers. But I did get an opportunity at Texas A&M, where I was even given like teaching assistantship. But however, I declined the offer at that point because of lack of proper knowledge. Like the professor here said, oh, here you will get a diverse experience in research. But yes, but the number of opportunities in this particular campus for internationals is less, because there is no particular undergrad focused tutoring here. So usually you can't mentor students who are from the same level. You have to probably mentor the students who are little under your level, something like the undergraduate courses. For example, you have a biology major and you have taken the core courses in the masters. Probably you can help in tutoring with the undergrad biology course or something like the biochemistry course or any kind of the lab techniques. So these are the components you have to look into. So make sure in whichever campus you're applying, does it have an affiliated undergraduate campus? Because if you have undergraduate campus, so simple logic. So the number of undergraduate students will be in hundreds. When you come to masters, the number goes down very much. And when you are coming to PhDs, it goes even more low. So these are the things that you need to think about. So if you have masters alone, the number of opportunities will be less. If you have undergraduates, yeah, the number of opportunities will be very high because there are a lot number of students and you need more kind of looking into the things, because a dorm, as mentioned, it's not a thing like a lot of work. Yeah, definitely, because you're getting some kind of a fee reimbursement or uh, dealing with the living expenses, it's definitely helpful. So always I prefer, it's okay to go into a university with these kind of opportunities because it will reduce the impact of the fellow like the tuition a lot. And now coming on to the next thing, I wanted to know, like, why should you, like, why are you interested in doing a PhD? It is mainly based on your long term or short term goals. And what are the things you need to think of before even choosing a career path? So my question for this, these particular things is, see, PhD is a doctoral degree, definitely yes, but when you want to do it and why you want to do it. And undergraduate, right after undergraduate, it is always important to know why you have to choose this particular career, or can you move away from this career. Because PhD is, for me, it took like 6.5 years for me to graduate. Yeah, COVID is a big impact on my life, but still, even if I remove an year, it is still 5.5 years. So this is one of the biggest thing you guys have to think into. So coming up, what is your end goal? As I mentioned earlier, if you want to like financially be stable right after your masters, company opportunities are pretty high. As I mentioned earlier, a master or entry level positions are way more in number. For example, in an any of the government in like office, the number of clerical posts are more compared to the main person who is the head of the department or something. So similarly, the number of opportunities for master students will be higher because they need more of these technician kind of assistants in most of the companies. And usually pharma companies have good number of opportunities. And yeah, being an international, it is slightly hard, but not like a negative thing. So in order to, there are multiple factors what you need to think if you want to directly end up in a job right after your masters and you don't want to do a PhD. So you have to plan it way ahead. That's the reason I was saying always focus on your long-term versus short-term goals. So getting a job is your long-term goal. So your short-term goal is, what kind of masters should I do and in which university should I do? So if you want to get a job right after your masters, you have to look into the fields which are having like pretty active amount of funding. So how do I know? Like you have to just think of what are the most number of diseases that are being focused in US. Based on that, you have to see which are the pharma companies that are having enormous, or what are the in which of the fields of disease is the government funding the money. So based on that, you have to think in that particular field. Second thing, networking. So you have to make sure there are some kind of a networking events. For example, right now your school has this kind of the genome image club. That's how you guys have networked or collaborated with Biopatrika, where you're getting some insights on the things that are happening in US or in Europe or another part of the world. So this kind of a networking is very important, because if you don't have proper reference, it is not possible to get a job. It's not only in US, even in India. And how is a stranger gonna just recommend you? You have to build up that over the time. And I'm gonna give you some more insights over like as we go ahead. And another thing is you can do kind of internship at pharma companies. So you have to make sure your university is close to multiple pharma or industries. Therefore, you can easily get an internship. Obviously, right? If you are more close to something which is more abundant, you will have more access or easy to go get in. And if you want to definitely land in a company, make sure you're doing your masters in a at least in a medium or top tier school, because it will be easy for them to absorb you based on your brand. Yeah, definitely brand does matter, but it is not always, because if there are some exceptional students where they joined under an exceptional professor who already has a tie up with a company, then it's always easy for them to get in, because they already have a referral link where their professor can recommend or provide a strong letter of recommendation in order to get in. So this is a brief overview about the masters. Now I wanted to focus more on the PhD. So why you want to do PhD? PhD is one of the highest degree in any field. For example, if you are doing PhD in bioinformatics, that is the most like that is the only degree that is called the supreme for any field. So, and one more good thing is, in anything, for example, your syllabus covers biology or biochemistry or something, those textbooks are already published. So somebody has taken citation or cited the literature of some others, and they compiled everything into a book chapter, and then that's how you study it. But in PhD, you generate a completely new set of data where the world acknowledges it. So this is what a PhD is. And few criteria I think are very important for PhD is a strong motivation and dedication, and patience. It's like needed in tons. And other important thing is the ability to question, like, why is this happening? Why it is not happening in the other way? You have to constantly question, then only you can become a great researcher or a scientist. And PhD is not just learning techniques. Yeah, in the initial phase, because you're not well versed with the techniques, you have to understand, okay, for my thesis project, I need to have these aims. So how am I gonna deal or answer these aims? Is learning various experimental approaches. So yeah, at the initial stage, you need to understand and learn the techniques. But over the time, you should have the ability to troubleshoot it. That's when you're called an expert. Like, for example, if I'm running a gel, and if it doesn't work, I should be in a way to troubleshoot it to understand what is the fault or where I might have caused the issue, rather than blindly just doing the second time. The same mistake can happen if I'm doing the second. If the buffer is prepared wrong, yeah, it is possible. So you have to make sure what is the mistake and how you're going to troubleshoot it. And lastly, one of the main important thing, if you want to become an academic researcher, is not just learning the techniques or ability to apply it. You need to have the best way to write your idea. Because if you're not able to write your idea, you can't even submit a grant. And without submitting a grant, you can't fund your lab or have even an individual lab. So these are pretty important things. And why I personally feel is PhD is very less rewarding in sense financially, you're not being paid high. Yes, PhD is very important. And I personally feel without research, there is no existence of medicine. And I think COVID has taught the entire world that how important research is. If there is no COVID vaccine, we would have lost millions. Now itself, we have lost millions of lives. It would have been like a devastation of the total public. So it is pretty important. But however, the amount of funding you get is very, very less. And it should be encouraging, but simultaneously, everyone has their own needs. That's the reason many of them are jumping into pharma industry at this point. Yeah, it's a big difference in the salary. For example, I and my friend, both of them are from India, and we are batchmates during my PhD. I because I have a strong notion for becoming an academic researcher, I have stuck with postdoctoral fellowship where I get paid around like 50,000, 55,000. My friend who joined a company right after my PhD, he makes around 90,000. So there is a huge difference because companies are slightly different from academic research. What is the good thing with academic research? You can have your own independent lab, but definitely you need a good amount of funding in order to maintain the lab. But in a company, unless until you go to the top-notch positions, you still have to work for a project that is being developed. And another thing I wanted to let you guys know is what is the amount of patients? Yeah, I did a clinical degree called BDS. I thought like I got a lot of patients because I dealt with a lot of like treating the clinical patients. I attained a lot of patients in like dealing these cases. Like there will be good cases and bad cases. I learned that over the time. I thought like, oh, I did my BDS. I can do a PhD pretty easy. No, that's not the case. PhD is like repeating the same degree 2 to 3 times. So it requires an enormous amount of patience. For example, I got a pretty good data today or a positive data today. I have to repeat the same experiment 2 to 3 times in order to make sure these experimental data is valid. Similarly, I got no as an answer. I have to repeat it 2 to 3 times in order to make sure it's an absolute no. So these are the things very much important because joining a PhD and after 2 years, if you get saturated, it's not worth dedicating your time. And in this point of world, having a lot of gap years is like exhausting the things because many things have age limit. For example, in India, there are a lot of age limits. But if you're moving abroad, that's a different scenario. But I just wanted to give you an overview. Then, should we do masters before doing a PhD? When to do masters and when to choose PhD directly? So these are the questions I incorporated because you guys are in the right point of age. I would say if anyone is even in the third year of their biotech, that would be the best age because why you're doing PhD, you wanted to have the utmost knowledge in that particular field. For example, if I'm doing, I did dentistry, right? So now I am doing cardiovascular research. I can do echocardiography on mice. I can do isolation of mitochondria. So I'm more into the metabolism and especially in the field of cardiac. So which is completely out from my dental background. And my long-term goal is to see how oral disease can impact the cardiac disease. So now I want to do a multidisciplinary. This is what I said you earlier. So if you want to pursue the same field in your master's or in your PhD, then it would be easy for you to streamline with having proper credentials. You can directly jump into a PhD. I know many students right after their bachelor's who have gone into PhD. But when is a master's required? For example, you're changing the stream or learning something new, or if you don't have proper experience, then definitely there is a need for masters. And if your aim is only PhD, don't spend a lot on masters because it's financially very burden. Because on being a PhD, you don't earn a lot. So these are the things, please make sure so that it would help. How to gain research experience during undergrad in order to fulfill. So there are some programs where you can get actual research experience abroad as well as premier institutes. I do know that Shoolini is pretty big university, but I'm not completely aware how good the publications wise or the research aspect is. So I'm just giving a generalized overview, nothing to uh, mean you guys, but I just wanted to let you know. So I came up with one program called Kurana program, where there is a requirement like pre-final year students can apply for it. And it's a program for several weeks where they can shadow in US and they are fully funded. So the airfare is covered. They are given a stipend, which covers even the living, and they also are covered with a health insurance. So programs like this will give you an initial insight of how research is going to be abroad. So maybe doing like this will definitely help. Why I'm stating is doing the guest volunteership back in India in CCMB before doing my master's made me rethink, can I even do this research? So these kind of questions are definitely important. And coming to in India, most of those CSIR institutes have some kind of summer training programs which are absolutely free. So maybe you guys can think on this aspect. Yeah, definitely it's going to delay your career life. But what if you're doing a solid project and getting a co-authorship publication, and which is going to add your credit and reduce your master load? It's definitely worth of it. So having research publication during undergrad can waive you from doing masters before pursuing PhD if it's in the same field. And how can you increase this experience is based on these internships. Other thing is there are short-term thesis projects where you can do some project and get a sure shot name. If you have a first author publication, then the entry point is already cleared for you. Only thing is you have to meet the eligibility criteria. Many of the universities have few other requirements, which I'm going to go through later. So coming to PhD in US, compared to Europe, PhD in US is slightly longer. Typically, they say 5, but now with all the things going on, it is 5.5, I would say. It also depends on multiple things. For example, if you are working on cell culture models, it can be done little faster. But for example, you're developing a mice model, it takes several months to get the right mice model, because usually you will have a transgenic core facility which generates mice with specific knockouts. So it takes time. At times it is pretty fast. At times it takes several months in order to generate these mice. So at that point of time, you'll not be able to perform any of the experiments, and you'll be working on something else in the lab, like some other project. It's not like you'll sit thing. And coming to the coursework, usually first 3 to 4 semesters are completely blocked with the coursework. And most of them are related where you have to meet those prerequisites. These are called like mandatory courses. For example, one of the course I had in my PhD is IBMS. It's more like biomedical sciences introduction course, where one of the month it deals with biochemistry, one of the month it deals with physiology, one of the month it deals with the development of a proposal, and end of that you have to like be able to develop a small proposal with a team. So this gives you a brief insight on how you are being slowly tuned for the bigger task. So coming up, so there are 2 types of entry points for PhD in US. So one, you get an admit, then choose for a lab, and other one, you choose a lab and then get an admit. So these are typically 2 types of universities that are in US. For example, the campus or the university I work in, it is like getting an admit, then you have to do 2 to 3 rotations and then apply for ask for the professor if he has funding and availability for a PhD student. The good thing with this is it's like doing a test drive for before buying a car. Are you okay with the lab dynamics? Because you have to stay there for at least 3 to 4 years. You need a pretty good environment. A toxic environment is not at all helpful. The professor should be very friendly or should be like encouraging. For example, you have a negative result or the things didn't work, you have to discuss, you need to spend time with your professor in order to see that what you can do, because at the initial stages you are not well versed or not well expertised. So it takes time or some kind of experience is needed when you have to do it on yourself. So these are the things you get to know, because usually a rotation is from 2 to 3 months. So you spend while doing your coursework, you also spend some time in the lab, therefore doing some kind of a experiment. So during my PhD, I had to do 3 rotations, I said, right? So the first 2 rotations I did, I got 2 publications from them. So if you spend more time and significant contribution, you might be lucky in getting a publication, I would say. Okay, so these are some of the things. And next, coming up, you already find like how you already find a professor which is of your field of interest. I saw somebody's profile. who says they do astrophysics or astrobiology. So they say like, okay, then what they do, they look for that particular field in which universities they have such programs. Then you look for specific professors, then you write an email to them. And then if they have an opportunity and they are really interested, they say, okay, I'll be taking you. Why don't you apply for this particular program? And this can lead to an admit, which will eventually get you to US. So as I mentioned, these are the two scenarios. And the longer time frame, I did mention it, and it's the flexibility. And in deciding the PhD project, if you are choosing multiple labs, you have to increase your stay, but definitely it will give you a broad overview. Maybe as I mentioned initially, I came to US with a strong motivation. Can I regenerate the tooth? In 2011, 2012, that was very much in my mind. That's the reason I took stem cell concentration. But later on, I got to know it's more an application. That one I got to know only after doing multiple rotations. So your prospect changes as you mature in the way you think. And some of the universities, you have to do these teaching assistantships or research assistantships in order to meet the fellowships. So teaching assistantships is like tutoring for master students or tutoring for a particular course. For example, in my campus, there are no hard and fast rules, but for in the other campus, which is the main campus for Rutgers, you have to do these mandatory things in order to get the fellowship, in order to cover your tuition as well as the living expenses. And teaching assistantship definitely takes a lot of time, because earlier in masters teaching for undergrad, it is more for an experience, but in PhD you have to focus more on your own research. But TAing, yes, because you have to attend every class of that particular course, and then you have to provide time for the students in order to clear their doubts, or at times even grade the like exams. Yeah, if you are in that particular university, if you can't pay. But good thing with teaching assistantship is later in life, if you want to become an academic professor, teaching is one of the criteria which needs to be done. Okay, so other requirements. These days, TOEFL is mandatory, but however, some of the universities don't require. Even GRE, they say it is recommended, but not mandatory. I would suggest go ahead with GRE. That's how you're proving that you're talented. Yeah, it's good to get a pretty good score. In that way, having something, they are not going to reject you, right? So I would suggest, even if they say recommended or not necessary, try to give it. It will give you an extra credit if you have a pretty good GRE score. I'm not aware right now how much it is, but earlier it used to be around 340 or something. If you are focusing on the top tier, your score should be around 320 above. For example, in Rutgers, the main campus is in top 20. So that one requires little higher than 320. But the campus I studied or I am working right now is slightly on a lower scale because it's a medical and a dental institute. So 310 should be pretty good enough. So these are the things I'm saying back from like 6 years before, but right now I'm not completely aware. And another thing, for masters, you'll have 3 cycles, like the fall cycle, which starts in the August, September, and the January cycle, which is called the spring cycle. And few universities also accommodate summer cycles, which usually starts from May. For PhD, most of the universities have only single cycle. So usually the applications open September, early September, and the top-notch universities, they say first come, first serve. So once your application gets in, try to be always way ahead before the university, the application cycle closes, because don't go till the last minute, because at that point they might have already decided who needs to get the interviews or who will be selected. So that is one good suggestion I would give. Always go ahead and apply, and don't wait till, at least try to submit a month or 2 months ahead of the application deadline. And other great opportunities or arising fields are science communication, Right now, everyone who is interested in writing has their own blog, has their own write-up thing. Like every company right now wants a science blogger in order to like publicize their research or whatever it is. For example, it could be right now, even there is another field called science art, where they are trying to make the cover pages for those top tier journals such as Nature. Like almost every journal has a cover page, and you need to have it attractive so that it would attract the public. So therefore, these are the other opportunities. People are diversifying because research is laborious and simultaneously less rewarding. So people are trying to look into other and other avenues. So if you want to do such things later after your master's or PhD, try to establish, like for example, right now how you have these clubs. Try to think of participating or volunteering during your entry level positions so you can directly land in a job right after your opportunity. So you have, so it's not always possible that for example, I did biomedical sciences. Some of my juniors or another faculties ask, oh, what is the job market in your field? So the job market keeps fluctuating. There is no constant job market. At times it is not always possible to have opportunities. You have to create your opportunities. And how is it possible to network? That's how you have to start in. So these are the things I would say is pretty important. And regarding the programs, it is again diversified. As I mentioned, multidisciplinary programs are more common these days because they want to increase the approach of research. Because earlier, just having basic science would get a funding. But these days, having big data is become more like a habit. Even in big papers, if there is no valid big data, like where you don't do RNA-seq or proteomics or some of these fancy big expensive techniques, your paper even won't get published in a small journal. So these are the things you have to keep in mind, and based on that decide on what you want to do. And the application costs are slightly from 75 to 100, and these days I am not completely aware if it has changed slightly higher because of the inflation thing that's happening. But yeah, these are the requirements. TOEFL or IELTS, it depends on the university, whichever is requesting it. So coming to the fellowships, these fellowships I'm talking about is purely for PhD. Masters, most of the fellowships are on-campus jobs or something related. But for PhD, you are being paid. Most of the universities pay you for like $30,000 to $40,000, which is good, and you can even save if you can like try to minimize your expenses. You can save on that. It is very good for like one person to live pretty decent life. And you will also be giving health insurance where the professor or the university pays for you. I wanted to show my own university as an example, where probably I'll open it so you guys will have an overview. So are you guys able to see Rutgers thing? Can someone?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, yes. Okay. So if you see here, you have a lot of things, right? So PhD program, when you click, go back to the multidisciplinary program page, but you will have even the stipend mentioned here. So this is the stipend, which is right now. And this is from 2021 to 2022. Recently, we got, because I am part of the school, I got to know that it has been increased to 37,000. Right now, there is a big thing going on. Even the postdoc salaries, right now it is around 54 for me. They are moving to 61,000 because most of the students don't want to do postdoc fellowships. There is a high demand right now going on in US, not only in US, in the entire world, because the number of company job people are going towards companies because they are getting high paid. So apart from that, they also give health insurance. So whenever you're applying for a PhD, make sure you look. Most of the universities, everything is well described. You need not go to a consultancy for asking, because see, you know what you want to do. The consultancy people, not everyone knows each and every field. So think more, do your own research. It will definitely help you in getting it. Okay. So usually prospective students means the ones who are planning to come, or those who have. And usually there are even some workshops where you can attend. I don't know if there are online workshops. Usually if you are doing masters here, you can attend for open house for the university for PhDs in other campuses. Yeah, you have to spend on the moving, going, flying there or doing thing, but you'll get an opportunity to explore how the university is, how the campus is, what are the funding, what are the facilities. So these are the good things that you will get into. So now coming back, so there are some external fellowships, but most of them are requires UN citizenship. For example, NIH, the National Institute of Health. So that is like something like CSIR for India, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. That is like a government body, but most of them require a permanent residency or a US citizenship, which we don't qualify. But for international students, for example, I work in cardiac field, right? American Heart Association, which has a private funding, does provide a good amount of fellowship. It is around 25,000 or something, and the rest of the thing which the school promised is being compensated. And it will also give you some grant money, and it will give you like $2,000 per year, where you can buy a laptop or something related. You can even buy some kind of you can use that money even for traveling to a conference. So these are the good things. But what are the criteria? So if you come from a high profile lab, the chances of you getting a fellowship is pretty high. So these are the things you need to look into. Why do you need a fellowship? Yeah, for example, right now I want to become an academic professor. You have to have the top-notch criteria. That's how you outline yourself from others. That's how you can build up your profile way from the beginning stage. Unless until you don't build it now, when are you going to build? Then again, you have to focus during the postdoc in order to build your profile. So you have to focus on multiple other things during your postdoc fellowship, so that you need not. Yeah, I gave, uh, I applied twice, but I got rejected. But I'm happy that I at least tried it. So it's okay to not get it, but you have to try. Unless until you try, you don't even get it. So now coming on, here is one particular program. I'm going to send this presentation so you guys will have access to most of the links. So this is a Google website program, which is created a bunch of grad students across the globe. So there are some panel discussions that have already been done. So where you can check for the slides, as well as the webinars or the recordings are also available. So it will give you an overview. Yeah, I do understand you guys have gone through some discussions, but this will definitely help you. I'm not actually in the founding team, or I'm not trying to. These are already available resources for people like you. So why don't you just go over? And they also have a good number of links where they have shown what are the resources that are being available from the mentors. Something like why you want to do PhD, like what I mentioned, something slightly tuned here and there. So this would be another important thing you can look into for getting a better idea or prospect. Okay. And now, how to decide in which university you want to do a PhD? The main things that you have to consider is field of interest. For example, if you want to do bioinformatics, you have to be well versed which are the universities that are like providing these kind of courses, and then categorize them into top, medium, and low schools. Top schools, little hard to get. Medium schools, the chances of getting is slightly higher, and low schools is a sure shot entry. I don't want you to focus on low schools only, because see, it depends on your requirement. What is your long-term goal? You want to do a pretty big postdoc, then yes, you can get in with a low school, try to complete your PhD a little early, and then come out. But if you want to end up in a pharma company or something like that, choose the schools in a way I said for the masters. Look for the schools which are more in the pharma hub region. For example, in US, California is pretty good in pharma. New Jersey, New York has good number of pharma companies, and other one is Boston. Sorry. Other one is Boston. And the next criteria you have to look is look for at least 2 to 3 professors that are working in the field of your interest. So as you mentioned, for example, bioinformatics, you guys are very much fascinated. But in bioinformatics, do you want to focus on public health? Do you want to focus on cardiac disease? Do you want to focus on infectious disease? Based on that, you can segregate which kind of field you are interested in. Then see how many professors are working in that related field. Then I will show you how you have to look for those. So these are the things, they are specific for US. So NIH reporter, this is the government, public access government funding, like what I say is the website where you can get to know the funding of a particular professor, if they got any funding from the government. For example, I can type in my professor's name. So his name is Dominic Del Rey. So you have to little bit change here and there. Then it gives you what are the public types of grants he got and how much amount he got it. So for example, he recently got this in 2023, and he has pretty good amount of funding. And you can check his lab website and then see how many lab members are there. Does he have any openings? And based on that, you can decide whether you can join his lab or not. So these are the things that are really important or helps in getting such things. Got it? And you can also know little bit about the project. So when you click on the project, you'll get the abstract of the project. So this is how you have to understand. So similarly, once you segregate the list of professors, then look for their funding. Yeah, not everyone has NIH or government funding. Then how am I gonna do? Yeah, private funding is not being publicly accessible. For that, what you can do is, I don't know how many are good at searching articles in PubMed. So you go for PubMed. PubMed is nothing but a database. Similarly, there are other databases such as Scopus or few others. I prefer PubMed because I'm used or trained in this aspect. So for example, I'm just giving my own name. So I type in my name, and then you get the list of articles. Yeah, there is a possibility that there can be another Satvik, but the last name could be unique. Other way you can do, then open the article and then see where my name is, and then click affiliations where you can see where they are in. And mine is given as 1, right? So I am part of the Department of Cell Biology and I am in Rutgers. So because you know that I work in Rutgers, you can confirm that this is me. And then if you click, it gives you the list of all the articles that I have published in specific. If a person of if the professor is publishing at least 2 to 3 corresponding author papers. So what is a corresponding author is the author who stays in the last. So when you click affiliation, you should have one person where you will get the contact info. Maybe it's not here, but usually this person is called the corresponding author, like Junichi Sadushima, Dr. Junichi. He is our chair. So he is the one who has to be corresponded if something is needed. So if this professor has 2 to 3 publications per year, it means his lab is pretty awesome. He has pretty good funding. For example, if I kick him, you'll see like just put for 1 year, only in 2023. See the number of publications he have in just 2023. It's just half of the year and he already has like 16 results have come up. So it means his lab is pretty like, what you would say, is pretty well funded because he's chair of our department. Yeah, usually chairs have lot of amount of, so my boss has only 1 grant, but the chair has like 3 to 4 grants. So it is little hard to get into a chair's lab because they require experience. So maybe if you have good publications during your masters, maybe it's easy to enter. So at the end of the day, what is your goal? So if you want to have a lab, working in some big labs is pretty important. Why didn't I choose my chair's lab? Because my research experience is little less compared to any other MSc graduate, because by profession, my bachelor's has nothing to do with research. So therefore, I require more attention from my professor. So I have to, like, for example, if chair, he has other responsibilities. And usually he has like 10 members in my lab. I wanted to look into a small lab where it is like 2 to 3 people, so that my professor can interact more number of times and guide me more in order for better experience. So these are the things I felt are important for me. Therefore, I chose a small lab. I did even rotate in my chair lab. That's how I got that big paper where I'm in like third or fourth place. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it keeps adding to your profile. For example, if you are applying for a master's, what is the best thing that stand out is your resume. In the resume, if you have publication, that itself says that, okay, this student already has a publication. He has some kind of a research exposure. It depends on what kind of publication. If it's a review publication, yeah, maybe he knows how to write it, how to search for articles. If he has a co-authored publication, like third or fourth position, means the professor thinks that, okay, maybe he knows some kind of a lab technique that can be useful. If he has a first author publication, it means he has done at least 50%, minimum of 50, and it can be even more than that. That's how a professor can decide. I got this knowledge after I spoke to my PhD mentor. I asked him, how do you decide a student is pretty good, or based on the publication profile? This is how you can say it. That is the best recommendation we have. They need not ask for somebody else's recommendation. Just by looking at your papers, they will know how much expertise you have. So these are the few things I felt are important for you. And coming to the last section, so I usually get a lot of LinkedIn requests these days because I have published a couple of my career stories, because I have my unique transition. So if somebody wants to come in a similar transition, I at least want to give them a hope that, yeah, there is some kind of a positive career in my life. So you can also try this. So I just wanted to see skip verification. So maybe give me 1 second, guys. So I'm just going with Avantika. Do you have a LinkedIn profile, Avantika?
Yes, Dr. I do.
Uh,
THIKA.
THIK, and can you say anything else?
Avantika B, the initial B.
This one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to connect to this person. I am not ever aware of it. So most of the students, they just hit connect, right? So when you hit connect, it gives add a note. Always try to write who you are. I am so and so. I am really interested in providing getting guidance from you. I am looking for this. So it is very like 300. Not everyone has what you call is uh, the professional LinkedIn, where you can send in an email. So everyone has, even I don't have the premium access. So it is always good to introduce yourself in order to, so that it gives a positive, okay, the person is requesting me this. Why should I even connect to you if I don't know you? For example, Avantika doesn't know me. Why should she accept my invite? And half of the profiles, they don't even have a photograph. So it can give a fake thing. Like these days, scams are on a high scale. So you never know what is happening, and always look for, are they studying in the exact institute? Is it at least, do they have a correlation? So it is always good if they don't have any school education. I don't usually accept it. I at least see, are they, is there any kind of educational background, or have they even put some, or are they randomly clicking connect? So make sure that you do this, because this is one thing I felt is pretty important and will help you in networking. For example, you want to approach a company person after or during your masters for an internship. You are talking to an HR. You have to create the best impression, because that's the first time you're meeting. Why don't you type in little bit more about you, give a brief info. It should be like the most brief, and it should have a great impact rather than just hitting connect. So these days, how I receive, I'll get an notification of request, and then they'll see my profile 2 to 3 times, and maybe on the fourth day or fifth day they'll say, "Hi, Dr. Satvik, I am so and so. I am looking for." So when you're taking 3 to 4 days, why don't you do it on the day one? Why are you even wasting 3 to 4 days? What if, because you didn't even mention a note, why should I even connect to you? So these are the negatives which I felt are important, and students are not being learned. Yeah, it is possible that they are not aware of. Similarly, when you're sending, as I mentioned earlier, you're looking for an opportunity. It could be in abroad, maybe for internship during your undergrad, during your master's, or during your PhD, for applying, before applying. Make sure you write the best email, because everyone says, right, first impression is the best impression. So you're talking to a stranger who doesn't know anything about you. Make sure you get the best out of that, and make sure you don't write like stories and tales in it. Made to be very short. Try to focus on what you want and what you are doing it, and how you wanted to have that interaction. Make sure, another thing, for example, there are like 5 professors who are interested in cardiac biology, which is of your interest. Don't copy paste the same email for all the 5. It is easy for them to make it out. So instead, what you do, I showed you how to search for publications. Look for those publications. Check for the recent paper. Say that I usually do follow your researches. I came across your profile. Your research is pretty fascinating. And if you want to focus on one particular study, you can even talk about that. I really like this paper. This particular technique is pretty nice, or something. Like, don't be too vague. I'm just giving you an idea. You can go in a little bit more detail, and then initiate an interaction session. Ask them, is it possible to know more about your research work? And then once you get a Zoom invite or something like that, then ask for opportunities. At times you can even ask in the first and they can say a no. So these are the multiple things that are really important, which will really help you in order to approach a person or a stranger. And most of the email IDs are online. So yeah, I know many of them who say like, I have emailed a lot and nobody replies. Give them some time. So for example, I'm emailing a person today. Don't again email till 1 week. Wait for his reply. If you didn't get a reply, then again send up a follow-up reminder. And half of the times, our emails which are sent from Gmail or something go to the spam. There are, most of the professors do check spam if they really want someone. So it is not like a no. For example, during my PhD, I have an option where a student can invite uh, a, an eminent scientist as a speaker for the departmental seminars. I approached top-notch people, but I got a no. But still, I got no as a reply. Means they at least saw my email, took time, and then replied me. I'm happy for it. I'm not sad that I got no as a reply. It's okay. They might have some other commitments. It is not always possible that you get yes as an answer, but you have to keep trying till you get it. And as I mentioned, for those research assistantships and TA assistantships, so usually the deadline is way ahead of the application deadline. So for example, if the applications close in August, then this deadline may be in June. So then you have to literally start your homework from February or March, because what if the professor doesn't reply you in the first email? You have to wait several weeks. So always make sure you are planned well before you are doing this. Okay. And I think I am done. Finally, I would like to thank for this initiative by Biopatrika and Shoolini, and I would especially thank this team, this young team who have made this possible, and the work you guys have done. This is a great initiative. It will definitely help a lot of students. Yeah, for example, when I was an undergrad, I didn't have it. So I'm pretty happy that at least the younger generation is looking forward for such collaborations, and it is very useful. So here I'm stopping my share and we can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maridu. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
That should be good.
Your life, I actually found myself noting down a lot of important points along the way, especially when you address the question on whether to a PhD directly or should we do a master's,
Mhm.
and regarding the TOEFL and GRE scores, and what other opportunities if not a PhD, because not everybody wants to do a PhD. And if you're really interested, then do you have what it requires to do a PhD?
So
So
few things
thank you
I
once
will say
again.
you in that aspect. In a batch of 100 undergrads from my batch, I'm the only one who is doing like pure basic science research. All my fellow friends moved to US are clinical dentists and they make 4 times my salary. So it's by
I,
choice I have taken this route. It's not just by chance. Studying dentistry was by chance where I got an admit and I'm doing it. But doing research is by choice and it's by passion. The only thing I pray God is don't get me to a financial situation where I'll have to change my stream. And another strong reason why I feel is research is going to create a bigger impact. Being a clinical dentist, I can maximum in 10 years aim like a lack of patients. But if you do a pretty good mechanism, that mechanism can help somebody else study, which can get into a drug, and that can lead to millions, lakhs of people, or even crore of people. So that is one of the strong motivation why I wanted to do research. And recently I came across another. So there are many dentists now, because it is saturated, they are trying to move to other professions. Like few of them tried MTech, biotechnology or something, and they are facing a lot of mockery. Why are you guys doing this? And India is still not ready for diverse profiles. So I want to be a physician scientist and I want to have someone who is facing a similar situation, those who are like physicians, but who are really interested in research, so that I can take them. So that is one of the strong driver. So it's like when I was at beginning or even now, I'm trying to sail, like trying to swim in an ocean. People from far off think, oh, he's an amazing swimmer. He's directly swimming in an ocean. But it's only me whom I feel that I'm just trying to survive, at least to float rather than sinking.
that's true.
The only day I feel myself as successful is becoming an academic researcher, having my own lab, and have successfully trained at least one PhD student. That's when I call myself success. Till then, and I don't want to see a failure till I reach there. Because when I was undergrad, I was saying, you could have studied coursework. There is no money in research. Why do you want to waste your time? These are the things I faced. If I have a failure situation right now, the same student who comes like me is going to get the same mockery. Now, at least they are saying, okay, you have to work like him. Maybe then you might see a success. Why don't you approach him for guidance? These are the positive things I'm hearing. I don't want to see the same own mockery or reaching out for the younger generation. So that is one of the strong motivation that I'm having. So, okay, I don't want to delay anything and we can go ahead with the session, question and a.
There are a few questions, if you can take them up, please.
So the chat is different, right? Everything is in the
The Q&A box.
Q&A, right? Okay, go ahead. So yeah. So why people go for MBA after PhD? What are the benefits of doing MBA after PhD versus MBA doing MBA after PhD versus MBA after PhD? Anyways, the thing with the first question is that why you want to do MBA after even PhD? So you want to become a CEO, man. So definitely you have to do an MBA, because you need to know the business strategies, how to even develop a startup. So for example, everyone is a PhD scientist in a pharma company. So how can you become the top-notch person or next to the top-notch? You have to show something bigger credential than your fellow mates who have done a similar PhD. So definitely that's the reason why they do MBA. For example, if you are becoming an academic researcher, you don't need an MBA. But if you want to become a funding agency, or where you're doing budgeting things, or where it involves something related to business administration or administrative kind of work, such jobs require MBA. So that's how you outstand yourself when you're applying for those jobs. So that is one of the things. So I think that is answered. And I think MBA after masters also is similar thing. For example, there is a computer engineer, right? So all the computer engineers, or any kind of an engineering position, they have the same level. If they have to get a promotion which is slightly above or a senior level, other than the, if you want to reduce the timeline, that's when people do MBA. And if they want to go more into the administrative aspect, yes, then you need the MBA. Like HRs have MBAs, or few other admin staffs in the universities have MBAs. So these are the things. So is it possible to get PhD position if we lack in technical skills, lab skills? Yeah, Praveen, it is possible. So for example, I did my master's. That's what I said you earlier. So it might be better to do a master's so you get well versed with it. It'll give you some more time. Can you even do this? So as I said you earlier, most of the people these days, they want to do work from home. Bioinformatics people can do a work from home job, but I can't do it because I can't take mice to house and do the echocardiography, or I can't, if I'm isolating cardiac myocytes from the mouse heart, I can't do it at house. If I want to run a Western gel or something which is biohazardous, I can't do it at home. So technically, I have to do it in the lab surroundings. So it depends on these things. And definitely, PhD is an esteemed profession. If a PI is willing to train you, then with minimal skills, they might take you. But if you're going for a chair lab, he wants at least 2 years of experience after masters, because he doesn't have the time to train you how to do a small experiment. He can give you suggestions. For example, you come up with a concept, then he can try to like figure it out the best possible way you can do it. So coming up to the next one, how are the chances of getting PhD with fully funded after completing masters and having 2 years in MNC company? PhD is, most of the cases is fully funded, to my knowledge. There are some private universities which not do it. Usually company experience people consider. So it is, so there are few myths, and some of them even I believe. That is one of the reason why I didn't go to the company. So once you go to the company, they say that that's a red flag. But that's a red flag when you're doing after PhD. But there is always a route where you can get back. So I'll give you a small example. So I'm doing my postdoc. Right now, I'm in my first year. So this is the right time when I can shift to company. But after 5 years of experience, my level of positions I'm applying is very less. So then moving to company is pretty hard. So this would be the right point for me to enter into a company. But a person who already joined company can always come back as a postdoc to the academic institution. So that's always possible. And people are open for it. For example, if you are going for a, you will have your own set of skills which might be important for them. That's how you sell your resume or CV. So definitely you'll have a good number of opportunities. But the only thing is, it depends on where you're applying. If you're applying to a person who is not very much open-minded, then it might go for a negative. So think those things in the matter. If you want to go for US, yeah, it is pretty diverse and you should get a fully funded PhD after doing this. So another thing, I want to pursue a PhD directly after bachelor's, as I have little research and have publications as a, I got exposure in various different fields, but I can't decide upon one single project topic. Should I try for master's, although my family is not financially stable? Yeah, so I'm from a middle class man. I don't know. I just call man because I don't know which gender, and I'm not gender biased. Okay. So the thing here is, yeah, I spent a lot of money during my master's. That's the biggest mistake I do, and I regret it. If I did have a teaching assistantship, I would have saved a lot of money. And I would not now pray that please get me into a financial, don't get me to a financial stress position. So because if you're not spending money for your masters and you're making up your living expenses, PhD is already funded. So you can, you need not think about should I pay my loan or should I have something. So definitely it is good. But other thing you can do, because you're, if you have already not graduated from undergrad, try to do a thesis project with some of these prestigious things I mentioned, like some kind of internship or some kind of a project thesis with ICMI institutes, where you'll get the branded papers, publications, which might help you. Hope I answered you. Thank you so much for your talk. I wanted to ask if there are any ways where US may be better than Europe for higher studies in research. See, US right now is going through a lot of inflation, and visa is one of the biggest thing for US. The main issue is if you are from software engineer field and if you are not doing a PhD, the green card or the permanent residency takes ages. So it's like waiting for several years. So if you have a PhD, the route is pretty easy, where you can file and you can get a green card within like 4 5 years, 3 to 4 years right now. But I don't know by the time you complete your PhD how long it's gonna be. So things are fast changing. Okay, and Europe. So I know few people who have done PhD in Europe because it is done by 3 to 4 years. They save the 2 years of time. Why I'm saying this timeline is important is I have done BDS in 2012. I have already like 15 years now. So I am like 35, 34. So in India, if I want to join as an assistant professor in any of the premier institutes, the age cutoff is 35. I'm on the verge. So these things, so in US or in other countries, that's not like a limiting factor. But in India, it's a limiting factor because of the population. They want to give opportunities after the retirement to the new ones. So it is based on the situation. So definitely think about this, because age factor is also important. After a certain point, you will have a lot of other financial responsibilities or family responsibilities. So try to do PhD at the earliest. Don't take as much gap years as me. But why I stated my gap years is you can still succeed having these many number of gap years. That's why I wanted to show my timeline stating that even the worst profile can have some progress in life. It is little slow, but it's okay. Okay. So that's done. And the last question is, I was leaning towards masters in Europe rather than US because of the high costs in US. But I heard that doing masters slash PhD in Europe may not be beneficial as doing it in US. I'm not completely aware of the integrated thing, but probably the masters slash PhD integrated program means you're doing basically the coursework during the first few years and later on doing your PhD thesis. So I don't think that's, because I know a lot of people who have come for postdocs from Europe to US. The only disadvantage is you guys come on a visa called J visa, from, because nobody sponsors you an immigrant visa like H1. So the J visa has some restrictions. So later on, you need to get no objection from the government of in India if you want to move later on to other visas, or if you want to file your green card residency. So that is one of the major limiting factor. So for example, right now I'm doing called OPT, which is the training program that is done after you are done with your master's or PhD. So these things help so that I don't need visa status for at least 3 years. And in the 3 years, I can maintain this. Got it? So coming to the last, how to plan a right career path. Why do we invest 30 to 35 years in education? How to consider age as a factor? What are the opportunities we miss if we graduate late? I already explained it to you. What are the opportunities? Right now, I am in that kind of a situation. Yeah, definitely. That's pretty big thing. So when I was doing my 12th grade, I was like literally moved by my geology lecturer, where he said a lot about Mendelian genetics. I thought like, let me do biotech genetics at that point. But I like the question my parents asked, like, okay, you do biotech genetics, what's next? I don't have an answer, because I don't even have someone where I can look into, because most of the families, they don't have the right guidance, because they haven't studied that much in their career. So that's the reason they want their kids to study well. So definitely, and because I didn't have a proper motivation toward medicine, what I did, I had another extra gap year preparing, like how we have the NEET exam, we have my own state exam. For I'm from Andhra, so I have MSET. So I took one more year. I just got a rank and I got a free dental admit, so I just joined. But from then, I felt like the first question they asked me when I joined said, "What do you want to become?" I said, "I want to become a genetic researcher," because at that point I was interested in genetics. But I didn't continue in genetics, but I am still a researcher. I have continued my urge towards research. So I literally attended like 10 to 12 conferences during my undergrad. So one of the conference I attended, the IDA, Indian Dental Association president of that particular state of Karnataka came as the chief guest. He said, not even 0.05% of dentists are doing research. And this was stated in 2008. And I don't think the figure has changed much right now. And do you I want to share one more thing. Being a BDS, masters, and PhD, though I haven't done in oral biology, right? If I go to a dental institute and ask for a academic position, do you know what job I'll be getting? I'll be getting only a BDS job. They don't consider my PhD because it's in a diversified field. So that's the reason I want to target some of the CSIR institutes. Hopefully, if I get pretty big papers, then yes. Yeah, age is a pretty important factor, and it requires uh, proper thing. Yeah, when you study 10th, they say, okay, study hard the 10th, you will be enjoying your life ahead. Then you do +2 and they say, do this, you will be doing amazing during your undergrad, and the cycle just keeps following. So yeah, this is the peer pressure we have, and we try to aim too much, and we end up in these low paid jobs. When do you think is the best time to start looking for scholarships and research labs to apply? Uh, it depends on what your career plan is. For PhD, because the application cycle is 1 year, you have to look at least 2 years before, because you have to keep up, like emailing the people, right? I did say about this at the end, I guess, where I mentioned if you are applying for these assistantship jobs during masters, the deadline for these assistant jobs is way ahead the application deadline. So always it is good to start little ahead. Yeah, it is time taking. You have to work on multiple things. You guys don't have proper guidance, but sorry, it is still important. You can go through these things. How do we find our main field of interest? I find many fields are very interesting. Yeah, I'm this same kind of person. Uh, So that's what I said you, right? I came up with stem cells. Then at the end of the day, I had great love towards mitochondria. I don't know how many people know about mitochondria. So if you see my LinkedIn profile pic, it is two mitochondria where they have sarcoplasmic reticulum. That is called a MAM region. That's how fascinated right now I am with mitochondria. And no more, I have a great interest towards stem cells. Yeah, there is a little because it regenerates, but what is its fate? Nobody knows till date. So you have to think what what you want to make a difference for. Yeah, it's hard to state which field of interest is pretty important. So what you want to have your long-term goals and how you want to reach it. So you have to think about it. So people will sometimes say, oh, I have seen a cancer person in my family, so I wanted to dedicate my research toward cancer. It's not possible. Like every family has some of the other things, and that's a motivating factor. It depends. At this point, think multidirectional, multidisciplinary approach. It's pretty important. And think in a point of view, which field has more funding. Once you have got funding or got a position, then after having your own lab, then you can prepare your groundwork in order to get to other stream. Okay, right now I'm in cardiac. I can establish a lab in cardiac. I can't establish a lab in oral biology. So once I establish a lab in cardiac, then based on my background, I'll try to start publishing slowly, getting collaborations in the oral biology. Then I can develop a multidisciplinary approach. Yeah, main field of interest, I am not completely because I can't give, because my interest varied over the time with maturity. So that's how it keeps going. So I'm not completely can guide you in that. It should be of personal interest. And if you don't have interest in that particular field, you have to either change the stream. So that's what people, that's why reason people quit from doing one thing and move to the other. Anything else, guys? I think I try to answer, and most of the things in the chat are done, I guess, right? They moved it
Yes,
to here.
Dr. Mario, completely. Thank you so much for very patiently answering each and every question.
Yeah, no worries. Because see, I have gone through a lot of thing. So definitely, whatever I could do, I'm ready to do it. So
That's true.
it's a matter of time. Everyone is busy, but if you can make a difference for at least few, that would be great. I spoke to n number of undergrads during my dental journey. I said, like, why don't you guys come to research? Why don't you guys come to research? Because I personally feel research is pretty important. It's essential. It's not even important. Without that, there is no mankind. Not only in one field, in every field. For example, I am doing echocardiography. Who is the one who designs the software? It's a software engineer, right? So those who designs a medical device, they are the backend people for the instrument to happen. So research in all aspects is important. For example, the public health, the epidemiologists. Without epidemiologists, the COVID data is not going to come out. So all these data analysts are also important. Every field needs to have everyone. It's not like one unique profession that is going to excel everything. So I
That's
have finally, I couldn't motivate anyone, including so my wife is a PharmD. She is a doctor of pharmacy graduate. Even she didn't knew that the amount of work that happens behind a drug or behind a mechanism, unless until she started doing it. If everyone asks who are the ones who invent drugs, everyone says pharmacies. Pharmacies are not the ones which invent drugs. It's the researchers who invent drugs. Pharma companies, just because pharma companies, they say pharmacists. In a pharma company, there are MSc graduates, there are PhDs, there are multiple others. There are even pharmacologists or someone related to pharma. That doesn't mean that they are the only people. In COVID, there is a flyer that circulates. Everyone states that frontline workers, police, people, everyone helped out. But there are researchers or scientists who were the major players, but nowhere it was mentioned. So these are the things we have to make the public aware of. That's how people get to know it. If not, yeah, when a celebrity comes in, you take a selfie. If a Nobel laureate comes in, do you take a selfie? You don't even know that he is a Nobel laureate. But that is the most outstanding award a person can get in the world. So these are the things which needs to be, it's going to change over time. Right now, earlier, the number of physician scientists are handful. Now the numbers are increasing. So for me, I would personally say, who is the top-notch person in the profession? A physician scientist is the first who can do diversified thinking capacity. Then comes a PhD. Then only comes an MD. What if a drug is not invented? Can MD treat? No. A doctor can't treat without a drug, right? He can't just say that soothing words or just use a stet. Even for a stet, somebody has to invent it, right?
That's
It's
true.
a simple
Right,
thing.
correct.
And for example, if there is already a drug present in cancer, without a clinical trial, can you use it for some other thing? No. There requires a lot of professional guidance in that particular aspect. That's how things are done. Anyways, I think I'm going way beyond the time point, I guess. But
But surely this has left us with a lot of thought-provoking questions, a lot of things we have to think about,
mhm,
like some
yeah.
things you might have never even thought of before, which was unnoticed.
Yeah, because these are the things I'm not completely aware when I joined. And because I am now aware, that's the reason I gave the information in. So the info I gave you about the reporter website where you can find about a professor's government funding, even the postdocs who came from India don't know it. But these are the
This was
important
my first time
entities,
knowing
the
that too.
people. And how many people know how to search for an article? So these are the things you need to know. And yeah, there are other things also, how to build up a CV. LinkedIn, I felt, because I myself did it, and over time I learned it. So that's the reason I want to say the younger generation, because you guys, if you are tuned right now, you can train few others. That's the reason why I did it. There is a big difference between pharma versus biopharma versus biologicals. People are unaware of it and put everything into pharma. Yeah, that's it. So see, that's what the education system is, Praveen. Right now, that's what I mentioned. Even my wife, who is a doctor of pharmacy, she's a clinical pharmacist. Now she's doing core bench research. She works on cardiac myocytes, where she checks for currents and everything. Now she got to know, she understood. She has her younger cousins who have done B farm and N farm. Even they are not aware of it. So it literally takes time unless until you jump in. I mentioned about me swimming right in the ocean. That's my own feeling. Unless until you are in their own shoes, you'd never know the troubles they are going through. It was really nice talking to you guys, and I really appreciate all your efforts for putting these such interactive sessions. I even wanted to pitch out this so that even other universities can have such initiatives, because it is very important for younger generation to drive them properly. And India is one of the strongest in the younger generation at this point. So
Thank you so much, Dr. Maridu, especially when you had talked about things like how people say just finish your 10th and then 12th and then life is all chill after that. But unfortunately, it's a never-ending
this lie
cycle.
people say out. Yeah.
And especially when I was really, it was inspired when you said how you want to help the students. I mean, you were in their position once and you understand exactly how they're feeling right now. And you want to lend a guiding hand to them. And that was really inspiring. Thank you so much.
It's a matter of time, I would say. If it is going to benefit a handful of people, even if it is benefiting one student, I would be more than happy.
That one student may then guide a lot of other students. So that's a huge
That's
impact.
it. Success doesn't start with 100, ma'am. It starts with one.
One, two,
Once a follower, then that follower can get attention of few other followers in their community.
two.
That's how it goes. And once again, a great applaud for all you guys who have made this up initiative. It's a really great work. I would definitely I'm also thankful to you guys for doing such an activity.
Thank you so much for those. It will surely help us like conduct such further events in the future too.
Yeah, definitely you guys need it. At least if you show this to your younger generation, they should continue this activity.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Like on the entire behalf of the entire team, I would like to thank you for taking the time. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Have a great weekend, guys. So
Thank you.
I'm leaving out right now. Should be fine, right? Yeah. Thank
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Maridu.
you. Yeah.